Okay, so Brave Exvius is E tier. 100%. Crisis Core is S tier. The game is amazing. And the fact that it hasn't ever been released outside of the PSP is a fucking tragedy. Dirge of Cerberus, I'm going to put in C tier because the game is really fun, but boy, is it bad. It's like playing a 1980s B action movie. It's fucking corny as hell. But if you're a person who liked like games from the 90s, like Resident Evil 1 and 2 that were cheesy as shit, but like were still fun, this is a game that you would enjoy. Crystal Chronicles is a B tier game. It's really fun, a lot of cool stuff in it, but it was severely hampered by its multiplayer feature needing everyone to have a Game Boy and also the fucking Game Boy GameCube goddamn link cable bullshit that no one fucking had. Oh, I forgot that this existed. E tier. Uh Echoes of Time? Is this the... Why does that sound familiar? Oh my god, I forgot they even made that E tier. I can't read that. I can't read that. I can't read that. I don't know Final Fantasy Explorers. I don't believe that this is a Final Fantasy game. You have them zoomed in? I don't even know how to zoom in on Firefox. Oh my god, I just did it. I'm a god. Dirge of Cerberus lost episode. I'm not gonna put that up there because I like Dirge of Cerberus is right here. Final Fantasy Tactics S. This looks like a mobile game. I'm just gonna ignore it because Tactics is on here. Holy shit. I forgot that this game ever fucking came out. I'm zooming in and everything is scrolling around. Oh no. I forgot that Ring of Fates ever came out. E tier. All of the Crystal Chronicles spin-off games were a fucking mistake. I don't remember Final Fantasy Explorers. I don't remember Dimensions. World of Final Fantasy, I think, was actually pretty good. Yeah, that makes sense that S was a mobile game. This looks like a mobile game icon. Final Fantasy 15, A New Empire is garbage. Can we make a new tier? How do I make a new add a tier? Add a row below. Get out of here. Why are these getting progressively cooler? What color should that be then? If it starts here and then goes down to here, the natural progression would be this dark green color, but that seems wrong, doesn't it? Yeah, whatever. I feel like this was a Japan only release. I didn't play Chocobo Dungeon. Revenant Wings, I'm going to put in D tier. It was fun, but it's not good. Oh my god, Crystal Bearers. This game is complete fucking dog ass. That's not a real game. This is also not a real game. This Dissidia sucked balls. This Dissidia was good. This is the worst numbered Final Fantasy game ever made. This is just Final Fantasy 2 again. That's Furion. And this is the Final Fantasy 4 sequel. Bad. Final Fantasy Type 0. Fun game. Not very good, but fun. This isn't a real game. War of the Visions is not a real game. It's a mobile game, but I'll put it on there anyway. It's right here. My Life as a Dark Lord, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. My Life as a King. It's the same game, but two different sides. They're both dog shit. All of the Crystal Chronicles spin-off games were made for like babies and are complete fucking ass. They're all shit. Like All the Bravest is a shit game. It like anything with Furion on it sucks balls. They're all just bad. Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced, easy S tier. I don't think anyone could argue with that, because if you argue with it, I'll ban you. You're just wrong. Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition sucks dick. Mobius is a mobile game that's bad, and it was bad. Opera Omnia was a mobile game that's fun. But like, it's still a shitty mobile game, it's still a gacha, and it's still predatory, and all of those games deserve to be in F tier. Final Fantasy Tactics A2, in my opinion, not as good as Tactics Advanced. Still really good. I'm going to put it in A tier. Final Fantasy IV, A tier. Final Fantasy III, B tier. I'll put it in C tier for right now. Final Fantasy I, C tier. Like, you have to respect the first Final Fantasy. It's basically entirely devoid of story, but it created the JRPG genre. It deserves our respect. And the gameplay's tight. Also, we have the original Final Fantasy to thank for making it so people could understand how to use magic in tabletop role-playing games. Because mana didn't exist in that one. It wasn't a mana system. It was a spell point system. F tier. Final Fantasy XIV 1.0. F tier. A Realm Reborn. Are all of the expansions on here, or is it, or not? If all the expansions are on here, this is going to go in a very different place. They are not. This has failed. It has 100,000 mobile games, but it doesn't have all of the expansions. Fine. Where do I put A Realm Reborn? Where do I put FF14 2.0 and up? Which, by the way, I think it's fucking hilarious that they separated 1.0 and 2.0, but they don't separate each of the other expansions. I'm going to put A Realm Reborn, like all of Final Fantasy XIV, as an amalgamation of itself. No, they run on the same engine. That's the problem. Final Fantasy 1.0 and 2.0 run on the same engine. They run on the same like fucking bullshit spaghetti code, which is part of the problem. I'm going to put 14 in B tier. I think that if we were going expansion to expansion, there are S tier parts of 14. But as a whole, we have to look at the good and the bad, and I think that there are some pretty big downsides to in 14. I think B is fair. Final Fantasy 9, S tier. Final Fantasy Tactics, S tier. Final Fantasy 7 was my favorite Final Fantasy game. This is my absolute favorite Final Fantasy. A tier. Just because it's my favorite doesn't mean I'm blind to its problems. Final Fantasy 8, D tier. 10, F. 10-2, Mega F. Is there like a Mega F? Let's make another one. No, that's not a meme anymore. Oh no, it changed it. Hold on. I'm learning how this works. There are just some things that we don't talk about, you know? Final Fantasy 11, I don't really feel comfortable placing because I've never played through all of it. However, this was the first non-Western MMO that became a massive success. It is still going strong, and it came out a year before World of Warcraft. And they managed to do it all on a PlayStation 2. So out of respect, I'll put it in C tier. Final Fantasy Type 0. It's just Agito. These are the same game. These are the same fucking game. Why are they on here twice? Did whoever fucking made this just grab box art pictures? Go fuck yourself. Same goddamn game. And this artwork, this cover art looks better. But whatever. I mean, this one came out on the PSP. I've played both. I played both because I had a modded PSP like anyone else with a brain. Final Fantasy 15. D tier. Combat was good. Let's see, where are we? What? Final Fantasy 4 again? A tier. 4 is a good game. Final Fantasy 5. B tier. Not a fan, but it's not bad. Final Fantasy 6 is S tier. Game's great. Like, what are all these fucking dog shit games? Oh wait, this is the After Years. Was the other one not the After Years? Was this not the After? Oh wait, no. Was the After Years episodic? I think it came out in multiple parts. Yeah, we're just gonna drop them both there. Dissidia NT. F tier. Actually, Duodecim probably deserves to be a little bit higher. We'll go back. I can agree with that. I can agree with that stance. Final Fantasy VII Remake is a B tier game. This is my problem with Remake in its current state is that Final Fantasy VII Remake is a 30-hour version of a 4-hour section of a game. It is a whole lot of padding and filler and nonsense to stretch, like artificially inflate the length of the introductory sequence of Final Fantasy VII, which is bad. I think that it's bad game design. Fucking mobile games, man. All the mobile games are F tier. I didn't even know that they had a tap version of Brave Exvius. This might be S tier. Is this available in the United States? Can we play this outside of Japan? Because if I'll play it right now. Nope, can't. Yeah, I see that it was published by Facebook, but that doesn't tell me if I can play it. Brave Exvius decided to make Facebook minigame Final Fantasy Brave Exvius tab. You can join the manually to Facebook messages and newsfeed and collaborate with friends. Since distributed worldwide, you can play with Facebook friends and players all over the world. Oh, it's related to Facebook. Okay, so you can only play it through Facebook Messenger. So no, that's an F tier game. That's we don't talk about that. Remember, everybody, Facebook supports genocide. Vagrant Story, I think, is a good game. We're gonna put it in B tier. Quality video game. I feel like Chrono Trigger should be on here. You know? Like, Chrono Trigger is basically a Final Fantasy game, but whatever. It's also, you know, that would be an S tier, right? If Chrono Trigger were in this list, it would be S tier. I think Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI are the pinnacle of RPGs during that time period. I remember that game was stupid. There's a lot of Chocobo stuff on here that I'm not going to list. Record Keeper is, to my knowledge, just the mobile game. I think this is... I mean, nah, Comrades was probably the best part of 15. But in order to like participate in Comrades, you have to have friends, so F tier. Hey, what's up? I mean, that's like saying that JRPGs are exhausting now. Come on. Chrono Trigger did a ton of stuff to innovate in the genre. It had a significant number of endings, like multiple ways to finish the game. You could beat the game incredibly early if you were good enough. It had characters that you could miss depending on what paths you took through the game. And it really is like the pinnacle of Super Nintendo JRPG. Or Super Nintendo RPG, because there were no other... Every RPG at the time was a JRPG. Yeah, that's fair. JRPGs can be exhausting. but like it's an S tier game, right? Like on a tier list of JRPGs, Chrono Trigger is S tier. Oh yeah, I can 100% get behind that. I don't think that I could ever finish Chrono Trigger today because it's a lot. It's a super involved game, but it's really good. Too bad all of the ports are worse than the Super Nintendo version of the game. The fact that the best way to play Chrono Trigger today, outside of owning a Super Nintendo or a PlayStation 1 and having Final Fantasy Origins, like, is emulating it, is fucking tragic. Oh, Crystal Defenders fucking slapped. This was a mobile game, but it was before microtransaction mobile games. It was just like, I think it was like $10, and it was a tower defense game. Fire. Final Fantasy VII Snowboarding. We'll put it in C tier. It was just a snowboarding game. They just turned the mini game into a game. Final Fantasy Explorers I'm going to put in D tier. Where's FFU? I'm confused. What am I looking at? Am I like losing my mind? First row, third column. First row, third column. This is the rows go this way, columns go this way. So this is the third column in the first row. I'm confused. Third row, first column. Third row, first column. Oh, I see. This is third row, third column. Oh, this is the anime. That doesn't count as... That's not even the same thing. This doesn't count. We don't talk about that. You're 100% right. Chocobo Racing is a solid B tier. Chocobo Dungeon is solid B tier. Actually, I'm going to put them in C tier because they're not really what you're looking for, but they are a good time. I think that's fair. Final Fantasy Legends. I would absolutely play a Final Fantasy character action game where you play as a chocobo. 100%. What do we do with Legend? Aren't the Legend games just the... Aren't those the mana games? No. Are they? I know that Legend was something different. And it was just called Final Fantasy Legend in the US because of the like brand recognition. Okay. So yeah, we're not going to put them on here because they don't count. Final Fantasy. Maybe I'm thinking of Adventure. Mystic Quest. Final Fantasy Adventure is Mystic Quest. Yeah, we're not going to count that either. I don't know what this is, so I'm not going to count it. This is another one of those fucking music games. I don't even know what this is. King's Knight? I'm going to zoom in as far as I can. King's Knight, Wrath of the Dark Dragon. That doesn't even have Final Fantasy in its name. Get the fuck out of here. You don't count. You're not real. Yeah. It was the localization name, but like Legends, Final Fantasy Legend and Final Fantasy Adventure, we're not going to count because those games are not Final Fantasy games. It was purely a brand recognition thing. Same thing with Mystic Quest. I don't know what this is, but I disrespect the art style. So we're not going to count that either. All of the Japan, like very clearly Japan only games, I'm not going to list here because I don't know what they are. Didn't they make a sequel to Final Fantasy? Okay. I think we got everything on here that I feel comfortable listing. I don't even know what Final Fantasy Dimensions is. Or Dimensions 2. I don't know. All right, let's go through here and we're going to rank these in order and then maybe shuffle a couple things around. So in the S tier, I think that Final Fantasy IX is the best Final Fantasy game. Full stop. Then 6. Actually, we'll put Crisis Core at the back here. I think this is how I feel about the games in S. I'm gonna move Dissidia Duodecim up to A tier. It's gonna be we'll put it. Yeah, we'll swap these two. I think Duodecim is better than Dissidia, but my problem between Duodecim and Dissidia is like, and this is where my issue is. They changed, like they rebalanced the game in Duodecim and added more characters, which isn't a bad thing in and of itself, but they fundamentally fucked a lot of the characters out of being playable while simultaneously leaving characters like Xdeath completely fucking broken, which was kind of rough, but it lets you play as more, like they had way more of the cast of Final Fantasy in Duodecim. So I feel like just for that, it is better. It's still completely playable and beatable, which is good. But like much more difficult to like kind of wrap your head around, especially after you played Dissidia for hundreds of hours, you know, because you mained Kuja because he's a sexy bitch and, you know, easily the best Final Fantasy villain, and they made Kuja complete dog shit. And yeah, I am salty. You like this content? Yeah, I'm down to do this more often. Why not? The only Final Fantasy games you truly dislike are the Lightning ones. I think that is a completely reasonable stance. All right, in A tier, 7, 4. I don't like that. I'm going to take this Final Fantasy IV off the list because it's on there twice for no reason. A2, and then Dissidia Duodecim. We're going to put A Realm Reborn at the top of B tier. And then Remake, Crystal Chronicles, Dissidia, World of Final Fantasy, Vagrant Story, and then FF5. Maybe, I mean, this one is the DS version of the game. I think the other one is just a different release, but I don't fucking care. Over in C tier, we're gonna take Agito off because that technically never released in the United States. So Kingdom Hearts isn't on here because they would all be in F tier. That's not true. Kingdom Hearts 2 would be in D tier. And Kingdom Hearts 3 would be in DMC2 tier. I really liked this game. I really liked Final Fantasy Type 0. Game was fire. Dirge Cerberus was not good, but god damn it, was it fun. Final Fantasy 1, I think that belongs there. I think 3 is worse than 1. I will put 11 over 3. I'll put Crystal Defenders over Chocobo Dungeon, and then the snowboarding games, the racing, like all the fucking minigame games. God, can we break Final Fantasy 15 up into segments? You know what? I think overall, I would put Final Fantasy 15 up here. Despite all of the problems with 15 becoming a linear, mediocre action game in the back half, the side content is really good. The combat is exciting and refreshing for the first little while. And the beginning of the game is incredible. Fishing game, fishing is boss in that game. The multiplayer was fun, but you gotta have friends. Yeah, that's why I have Comrades in F tier, because you can only enjoy it if you have friends, and I think that's incredibly disrespectful. Because I don't have friends. I feel good about this, and yes, I do think that Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings is a better game than Final Fantasy XII. In fact, Revenant Wings is one of the only sequel games that we're going to talk about because it was fun. It was a fun Nintendo DS real-time strategy game, and it really did prove a point that there should have been more RTS games on the DS, and the fact that there weren't is a goddamn travesty. All right. On to the F tier. You know what? I'm gonna do us all a favor. I'm gonna put these mobile games down in the DMC2 tier because they belong there. Most of these I don't even think exist outside of Japan. Also the rhythm games, because I don't like them. Also, most of them don't even fucking exist anymore. I'll keep Opera Omnia in F tier because there's enjoyable things about that game. Okay. Echoes of Time and Ring of Fates were dog shit. They're going to go towards the back, along with Final Fantasy 2. I'm going to take this off because, again, it's already on there. It's Final Fantasy 2. Out of the F tier games, which one do I think is the best? Dissidia. Excuse me, comrades move. Final Fantasy 13 I think is better than Final Fantasy 10. I also think Final Fantasy 1.0, 14 1.0 is that belongs all the way at the bottom because you couldn't play it. Like 99% of people that wanted to play this game could not play it. Crystal Bears definitely goes towards the back. Opera Omnia, I'm going to put ahead of Final Fantasy X. I'm going to put Crystal Bears back there. Yep, that's fair. I think that's good. I feel confident in this. And then the DMC2. Actually, you know what? We're just going to take all of these. No. Okay, so we'll take that off. We'll take this one off. We'll take All-Star Carnival off. We'll take the theater fucking rhythm bullshit game off. Take that off. I think that deserves to be down there. I mean, Mobius you can't even play. I feel very confident that they shut the fucking servers down. And then we'll take this off because, again, Facebook supports genocide. I'm going to wrap both of these into the after years, but you can see the title here, so I'm going to drop this one off just for the sake of not having a million things on here. So out of these, Final Fantasy X-2 is a reason... I'm not going to say it. Yeah, I think this is good for those. We'll take Curtain Call off because, honestly, who the fuck counts that? And then Pocket Edition I'm going to take off because it's a joke. I haven't played any of the Dragon Quest games outside of the ones that released on Game Boy Color. And even then, I couldn't tell you which ones I played. Boy. I don't even know what this is. Oh, wait, no, this is the Kingdom Builder game. That doesn't count. That's not real. War of the Visions is a fun game, even though it is a predatory piece of shit. Brave Exvius deserves to be all the way at the bottom. This game is so predatory that someone tried to blow up the Square Enix headquarters in Japan over it. Like, I truly feel like this game is tied for, like, the most predatory gacha game ever made. And then Mobius failed miserably. So, you know, that's got to go back there. So does this. But, you know, it didn't fail. Yeah, I feel confident in this list. I feel good about it. This is my list. This is my tier list of Final Fantasy games. No, you know what? I feel like I have to drop Crisis Core down because Gact is in it and it does not feel good. Like as I was sitting there staring at it, I was like, oh, Gact was in that game, and they made a really big show of Gact being Gact in that game, and it kind of fucked up a lot of stuff. So yeah, yeah.